我是金慧，我目前还在武汉汉口这个疫区。我向大家汇报一下，目前我们整个湖北甚至全国的疫情情况。现在已经有9万多人次。这个病毒的传染几率是多少呢？就是一个人传染之后，如果说他没有被有效的隔离的话，或者说进行有效的治疗的话，他会传染给他身边的14个人，那么这个基数就很大了。现在正值春节假期之际，天南地北的亲戚朋友子女都往家里赶，都是为了阖家团圆，在一起吃一顿团年饭。现在情况特殊，我希望大家不要出门，不要聚会，不要聚餐，春节年年有，只要人平安，大家都可以随时随地的在一起。我现在向大家介绍一下我们整个湖北省医疗物资情况。现在武汉市整个医疗系统及湖北省的整个医疗系统都已经越过了我们的上级卫计委及各个行政部门、市政府、省政府，透过各大媒体在向社会发起物资募捐。这个物资是医疗物资，比如说我现在戴的护目镜，戴的一次性的口罩，戴的一次性的手套，身上穿的这个隔离衣，甚至是隔离裤。这个物资特别精确。我们现在的医护人员凡是从临床下来的，现在全部都又重新上了一线。我现在相当于就是在火线上给大家录这个录像，就是为了让大家引起警觉。我再强调一次，春节放假期间不要出门，就自己在自己屋里待着，要不然我在前方拼命是为了什么？我就是为了让我的娃、我的亲人他们健康，希望大家能够理解。我也知道有些亲戚不在群里面，请看到我这个消息的人相互打电话，相互通知，一定要做到。我希望大家能够提高认识，这是一个政治任务。而且报告大家一个很不好的一个消息，这个新型冠状病毒已经发生第2代变异了。也就是说，在第1代变异的时候我们可以对症治疗，那么在发生第2代变异的时候，这是要命的。那它的感染几率就不是一个人传染，一个人得上的这种病传染身边14个人，那么它是呈爆发性质的。望大家一定要牢记，不要出门，不要串门，不要聚会，不要聚餐。谢谢大家。
Greetings all, this is Chief Yuya, and I would like to just provide a very quick reminder for you all. This won't be a long session, Of course, many of you by now are probably aware of the death of Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and the other passengers who were on the recent helicopter crash. You know, as it's been all over social media, you know, the tragic incident that occurred. And I wanted to just provide a reminder for all of you who, you know, may kind of be getting swept up in the wave and in the storm of the mourning for Kobe Bryant, as well as his daughter, and willfully also for those other, I believe there were 13 people on that helicopter, but those others who were on there. You know, I said some things recently that I would just like to reiterate, one of which I spoke about in the beginning of the year. I said, you know, we've had a lot of craziness and madness last year, and we'll have even more this year, because things tend to progressively get worse. They don't get better, you know, and it's through the worse and through the rotting of things that something new can come forward. And it's important that when these serious things are happening and these serious issues are coming across our timelines and our feeds, and we're kind of being urged to look one way, that we look the opposite way. When we're urged to look up, we should look down. When we're urged to look to the left, we should look to the right. Okay? Because often some of these events will happen and are highly promoted and marketed and publicized, even though they are tragedies. But oftentimes, this is done in the midst of other things happening. Like we also know we had Grammy night as well. But we have an impeachment still in process, really. But something I would say is even more important is the coronavirus. We actually have a pandemic that's actually happening right now, a plague before our very eyes. And remember, I'm going to remind you of something else I said. Destruction comes and people don't even know how to recognize it. They don't even, you know, they just go about life, you know, as usual. And a lot of times people can be distracted from the things that are happening. And I'm not attempting to take away from the tragedy of the loss of life in any shape, form, or fashion. But it's important to recognize when sometimes your programming of idolatry comes out, and you're worshiping a foreign deities or false deities begins to compel you towards certain expression. I find the life of Kobe Bryant very inspiring. His journey, you know, very inspiring. I remember when he was a rookie. I remember when he came into the league, and to see him grow, and he's gone through his own personal issues, legal issues, you know, and to see him come through all of that and still be able to stand firm and to stand tall, you know, I think is a very inspiring story. But you have to be aware sometimes of when you're possibly idolizing and worshiping an individual, which will now, and you're imbuing them with a personality that maybe they may not even have. But, you know, it's important to understand that cult of personality that's often created by the media, and it's promoted in modern times. And, you know, we have a whole industry now that's constructed around the idea of idolatry and our desire to want to connect with our idols and worship more directly with our idols and fellowship with our idols and commune with our idols. And there are entire industries that have learned how to capitalize on our desire and our captivity. You know, we're just a captive audience, if you will, when it comes to certain idols and things like that. So, the celebration of celebrity, it could be cool again, when you're looking at it from an inspirational perspective. But sometimes you have to ask yourself, are there times when there were opportunities for me to connect with my creator and I chose to connect with one of my idols instead? You see, the religious fervor maybe I have for the game or for a certain show I want to watch, or I'm reading through someone's Twitter feed, or looking at Instagram pictures of my favorite celebrity at a time, burning up time when I should be doing my development work or doing my spiritual work. And, it's just sometimes we're looking for a level of transcendence and transcendence towards celebrity. And we don't want to really establish that within our spiritual walk, but we can get it quickly and easily if I can go onto Twitter or IG and troll one of my celebrities and they immediately pull me up to a different place than where I was, So I understand that a lot of us have a deep passion for some of the individuals that we see, but I want you to just pay attention. It's so important. Just pay attention to the fervor and to the grief that's expressed when these celebrities transition, and the lack of that same emotion when other great people in the world transition, but who may not be celebrities, who may not be luminaries, but maybe have done things that are greater than those who are able to play a game really well, or to present themselves as a character really well, or to perform on a stage really well. So, it's just important for us to look at that. Now, I want to just touch upon very quickly the coronavirus. And again, I reiterate, I'm not trying to take away any thunder from the level of mourning, but I am willfully trying to bring some clarification as to what smoke and mirrors and distractions look like, and how, a lot of times they can purposely be put in front of you in order to get you to look in the opposite direction of where you should actually be looking. We have a virus right now that, if you looked at the clip right before this, that nurse, being able to get that message out through a VPN connection shares that, this virus has affected over 90,000 people. Now, that's not the numbers that we've been given. And that's from someone on the ground. And there's been other videos that have been released as well on this virus. There was a video that I saw of a nurse also had where she was showing all the dead bodies in the hallways of the hospitals. And there was also an implication that, not even an implication, I'm going to call it a fact, I'm not going to call it a truth yet. I haven't been able to completely verify it, that the virus itself has been patented by the Chinese government. Okay, so that within itself has other deeper implications in terms of biological warfare. But, there's also this kind of information that's being put out to us all in terms of how we should protect ourselves from the virus. And again, the numbers kind of being manipulated a little bit, if you will. But, we're basically told to stay out of emergency rooms if we can, and, stay indoors and to wash our hands frequently. Now, again, like I said, destruction comes and people don't even know how to recognize it. Something this serious that you have people wearing these full body mask, suits, helmets, who are working in the hospitals, and you're told that you can protect yourself from the virus by washing your hands. You see? And 90,000 people affected. We're told that over 60 people so far have died. But again, those are not really accurate numbers, because they're lying about the number. So you can multiply that number I'd say by 5 or 6, if not more, right? But you consider preparedness. I've been speaking about this with you guys for a long time now. Are you able to shut up indoors for a little while? Do you have the food stores to do that? Do you have the water stores to do that? Do you have the medical supplies to do that? Do you have the hygienic supplies to do that? Are you even in a place where the air is diluted enough that if there was something traveling through the air, if it was airborne, that it could dissipate very quickly where you are? Or are you in a highly populated inner city? So just some things to ask yourself. Like I said, I don't want to belabor the point too much, because I've spoken about, this so much, and or maybe not so much, but I'm not going to speak about it, but so much. This isn't a prepper channel per se. And again, like I've said so many times, the wise only need a hint. So I shouldn't have to keep saying the same thing. And I'm not saying I do. I'm sure some of you have already begun your preparations. I'm sure you've done that, but again, it's just something important to take a look at, because destruction is here. Judgment is here, and people are not even recognizing it. We were initially told that the disease kind of traveled from people eating exotic foods. That's what we were told. But even with that, even if we took that, what are exotic foods? Exotic foods are usually unclean foods. That's what exotic typically means. Things that you have no business eating. And at some point, I'm going to speak about that. And that's probably more of an internal Anu discussion, because I don't expect you all to follow the dietary restrictions that we may have in place as a family and as a communal collective. But I want you to just think about the judgment and the response that comes when you eat, when you partake of unclean things, when you touch the unclean thing. What comes as a result of that? You can't eat pig all your life and not have results that come back to you that are based on that unclean thing, or possum and rabbit and squirrel and all of these different things, shrimp, that you have no business eating and expect to live a full, happy life. And it may not always come back in the form of compromised health. It may come back in other ways, pandemics, things like that. So that's just a small example, and I just wanted you to kind of maybe take a moment to examine the pathology that's rooted in celebrity interest, and, how sometimes those individuals who we celebrate, for their bodies or for their talents or for their, whatever it is. I think it's important for us to look at sometimes how those media figures can be used to distract us from the things that we truly should be worshiping, and that we really should be focused on. But instead we get locked into this intense desire for a personal relationship. And, it's borderline. It's borderline. It's a pathology, that it's borderline. I would say there's an ego fantasy that exists in there. I would say ego fantasy, and there's a distinct disassociation that's connected to it. And a disassociation from reality. So it gets pretty deep when we have kind of these intense religious feelings and almost paranormal feelings and experiences as it relates to those who've been put in front of us and integrated into our lives as luminaries, and they begin to take space in our consciousness, and they become a part of our own psychiatric issues and problems. So again, not to take away anything, but I want to just remind you, when you're told to look one way, look the other way, because that's what you should be paying attention to. There's a virus. We have now 5 reported cases in the U.S., multiply that number. Multiply that number. Now, ironically, there's, I think, 3 cases in California, Los Angeles, in fact. Connection? I don't want to go down the conspiracy road because when I speak about a conspiracy, it's not a theory, by the way. I'm just going to say let's deal with what we can address. We may not be able to stop all of the different strategies of war that are enacted against us, but we certainly can prepare ourselves in an intelligent way, and we can cease to fall for this circus of again disassociation, and where we're manifesting these unhealthy tendencies towards the compulsion to have a certain reaction based on something that happens, that honestly happens almost every day. Every day. So I would just say, just take a look at that, do some research on that coronavirus, and don't just imagine that when the media hype dies down about the virus, that it's over. Judgment is here. It's happening. It's happening right now. And for those of you Anu people who've been listening all this time and really connecting to the information, and you see the kind of moves we're making, like I said in the last podcast, you can get on this boat, and sail to the promised land, or to the safer land, or I like to use the term higher ground. But it's time that the silverback is now climbing up the mountain, and some people are being left behind, and they want to be left behind. And others are recognizing the sign of the times and realizing that, there's a whole carnival and circus that's going on right now. And if they're smart, they're not going to buy a ticket to the carnival. All right, this is Chief Yuyan signing out. Like I said, I didn't want to speak too long on this. I probably spoke even longer than I wanted to. But, just to take away, all I just want to say is just there's still a live and active virus, out here right now that you need to be aware of, and need to be aware of when someone is trying to use an obsession or generate a love obsession inside of you with people that you don't even know in order to socialize you away from your own survival. All right? Be safe. Be well. Chief Yuya.